Good morning. Matthew Williams, The Secret Vault here. I have been asked a lot of things over the years, and unfortunately, because of my interest in ghosts and the paranormal and things like that, which are not understood, I do not believe there are serious, credible answers to some of the things that I believe and I've experienced. But, what is a UFO? At the end of the day, often an unusual light in the sky. Sorry, I might have bits of tissue paper on my face. I hope not. Let me just have a look. Anyway, I just got up, blown my nose, probably got tissue paper all over my face. But I just saw some of it fly off, and somebody referred to that as a UFO. They said, look, in one of my videos, they said, you've got a UFO. It's a little spirit being or something like that. And I was like, nope, it's just a piece of tissue paper and it's flown off. So ultimately, do I believe everything? No, I don't believe in everything. And one of the areas I have extreme trouble believing in, which is a great fascination with people right now, is the whole area of mind control by microwave weapons, which of course could be done on a large scale to large amounts of people at once, but not really directed at one person. And this is the problem. People who believe they're hearing voices in their heads. Now, I mean, to the person that I'm discussing, right, I'm not saying you specifically because you wrote to me, but I'm just going to try and walk you through it to make sure you understand what I'm saying here, right? To a person who is suffering these forms of delusion, what I'm saying here, they will not process. It will just be like water flying off a duck's back. Okay, it does not sink in what I'm saying here. Okay, they will immediately go back to their old ways of thinking, and it doesn't affect them. And they say, oh yes, but thanks very much for all that. But anyway, yes, it is really happening to me, and it really is happening to me, so it's happening to me, and that's it, and it's happening to me. This sort of thinking, whereby you have suspect thought processes, suspect feelings, tinglings, weirdnesses, you could, I believe, see these things as akin to mental problems, tics, fits, strange smells, strange visions, delusions, voices in the head. They have a term for it, and this term is very much disliked and very much turned against by the people that are having these symptoms. And the kind of thing that I believe that these symptoms have been called in the past is called mental illness. And people who suffer these things all the time are convinced that they're hearing voices in their head, but are they getting feelings and impressions and pictures and images and all these things going on in the head, but they aren't able to differentiate that might be imagination or the voice that is in your head anyway, which is your brain thinking. They somehow separate themselves from their own ability to think things through. Like, I'm thinking to myself later on, I could go to Lidl's, yes, and I could go and pick up some bread. Now that's my voice inside my head, and I know that's my voice inside my head, working things out and playing through things. But when a voice appears in this type of person's head, they immediately go, that's not me, that's somebody else. Okay, well, if it's somebody else and it's not you, how come then you can't go, not my thought, fuck off? Right? How come you can't do that? Because if it was in my head, I'd be going, well, you're nothing to do with me, so go away. That's what I would do. That's what most rational people would say if they thought there was some sort of thought invading their head. They would say, not my thought, thank you very much, not interested. Yeah? And if a strange thought strays into your head that is either weird or out of place or maybe even perverse or sick or horrific, you usually go, why is that coming in my head? And you put it to one side, you go, ugh, you know. But to a person who is affected perhaps by delusions or schizophrenia or paranoia or whatever, anything that comes into their head is not them, it's somebody else doing it to them. You know, and they seem to get fascinated with this concept of people who are standing around, you know, in houses with large antennas, pointing these antennas through the walls at them, you know, teams of people with equipment and antennas and, you know, all the wages it would cost to employ a team of people to hire a house to stand there to point antennas at them wherever they're walking around and hit them with microwave energy. Now, bear in mind, if they could beam enough microwave energy through a wall to affect a person, it's going to affect anyone else in the house too. So they'd all be turning around and saying, God, I keep getting this thought about this bird that keeps on going flap, flap, you know, in my head. And then the other person will go, well, I had that too, the bird that goes flap, flap. And then they'll go, oh, I had a fish swimming and it was going flip, flip, flip. But it's kind of like what you were saying. And we're all getting the same thoughts in our heads, which would be some sort of, you know, objective reality instead of a subjective only happening to the one person. Yeah, it would be beaming through your house into the next house, into everyone in your house and everyone next door, because microwaves are not like lasers. They don't go meep and just stick to your forehead, and when you walk around the house they follow you and radio waves beam outwards, and the beam gets bigger and bigger as it gets further and further. So when somebody says I'm being controlled by microwaves, I don't think they actually even understand what a microwave is, sadly. And I'm a radio amateur, and I do understand what a microwave is and what a radio wave is. Right? Even a laser beam will start spreading out over distance. Yeah? If you shine a laser beam to the moon, yeah, with a laser pointer, do you think that if you went on the moon that it's going to be a little point of light like that? No. If you could see it at all, it would have diverged into something probably about a mile wide. Yeah? And you'd have a big job in seeing it because it would have dispersed so much. So do you think that somebody from a distance is going to be able to beam something at you and it's going to stay in a straight line? Radio waves are even worse. The lower the frequency, the harder it is to keep it going in a straight line. The more it just wants to go splong and splurge out. You get a peak in the middle of power, but it'll splurge out. So the whole concept of this targeted individuals, targeted beams, microwaves only affecting that person. I mean, like they've got their genetic code locked into this microwave beam, and it only affects that person. Well, all of this screams of one thing. This isn't very obvious to the person who's affected by it, but it screams of one thing. If somebody can actually believe that some beam is coming at just them, not anyone else, them, it doesn't affect anyone, just them, right? And the voices in their head are affecting them. What they seem to forget is it's all about them, right? And this is known as a paranoid delusional complex, i.e. that everything that happens in the world is happening for them. Like the bloody Truman Show, you know, everything is being done for them and them alone. Not for everyone else, not just part of normal daily life. Those voices in their head are very specifically for them and are really being pushed in there and are really important, and they can't do anything about that. Or they become a special type of person that's suffering these things, and they usually go on to say, well, that makes me so special, that I am some kind of superhero now, because I get the voices in my head. This makes me special, so I'm actually better than everybody else because I know this is going on and other people are not having this, so I must be special. So now I'm a very special person, very important, they're prepared to spend all that money and wages and equipment 24/7, beaming signals at me wherever I go. They'll follow me in a van, and then they'll set up in a house or a hotel room, and they'll continue beaming. So 24/7 surveillance on a person throughout the whole of their life, all that cost, all those people involved, everything, all to poke some messages into this very important person's mind. And they don't realize how fucking stupid that sounds. Because it is stupid. But this is what they can't get through their head, you see, because it's happening to them, and if you don't agree with it, there's something wrong with you. Because you can't understand it, because you're not special. They're special, you're not special. And this is the problem, is like when you get somebody saying they're special and are big and clever and above everybody else, then nothing that anyone else is going to say is going to convince them. Because all they do is they filter out, like a filter, like a sieve, they filter out everything you say, and they only listen to the bits that you say that agree with them or convince them that what they originally said to you is correct. So they're looking for mirroring. They're just like, I'll just dispense with all that information that says that I'm nuts, and I'll just listen to the things you said about things that convince me that this is probably going on. So they completely filter reality, and you can go, no, you're actually mental, and they don't hear that because it's not what they want to hear. You have mental problems. No, they don't hear that. What they hear is, well, he said about people in the houses with beams and targeting. They can't hear the bit where I said, and that's crazy or paranoid delusions, and those feelings they're getting are probably something to do with the mental problems like schizophrenia, like ticking and fitting, and and all this sort of inability to operate properly, feeling like malaise and like their brain is under a fugue state. No, they don't listen to any of that. What they do is they only listen to that makes them important. That stuff makes it real. That stuff means it's real. You see, that's so they can translate and filter everything you say, which says, no, you've got a problem, to being, no, that convinces me that it's real and I'm special. So it's almost like if I said, no, the colour I'm talking about is red, they could literally listen to that conversation and said, well, he's told me it was blue. And I said, no, it was red, R-E-D. And they go, yeah, that's right, B-L-U-E. It's almost like you cannot get through to these people. And that's the mental illness. Because if somebody cannot see something that is that plainly obvious to everyone else, and that person cannot see it, if they're incapable of self-reflection on that level to understand what's going on, they usually have a mental problem. That's the problem, okay? Because they're not capable of self-reference. They're only capable of anything they think or feel must be real. And they can't think, oh, that just happened to me is probably not real. Oh, this that I'm feeling now is probably a problem with my head. Oh, that strange anomaly, that's something that's to do with an illness. Yeah? No, that's real. That was an attack. That was somebody pressing a button like this, beep, 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 and I was going, You see? They can't just see the symptoms as what they really are. So what this, it's very annoying when you meet people like this, because it's absolutely like this. They're like this, shunk. And they like to say, well, I'm the only one that can see. I'm the only one that's open-minded. If only they could really see how everyone else observes them, which is not to be patronizing. It is just the reality that if you do not have these problems, it's patently obvious as the nose on the end of your face. Yeah, when you hear people coming out with this stuff, they believe it. They are convinced of their own delusion. Whatever it is, no matter how weird it is, that's all that matters. And nothing you tell this person will be able to help them understand that. There are psychiatric techniques which can kind of make people say, right, they can do things like they can say, right, write me a note, and this person will write you a note, and then you show it to them, and it's different to what they think they've written, and they can't. They go, well, you changed it. There's things like that. You can actually, there are psychiatric things you can do to help show people that their behavior is not normal and try and get them to modify it. But the big problem is that it usually involves a lot of cognitive therapy, and it involves a lot of discipline on the behalf of the person, and it sometimes has to involve drugs, which may help. Sometimes they just cloud the mind a lot, which people will often stop taking. Now, the reason I'm talking about this to you is because I get asked a lot by people, what do I think about mind control and shit like that? And I say, well, there was a time when they used to have psychiatric wards, and people who've had these things would be in psychiatric wards, and they would be, monitored closely, and they would be given lots of drugs. Now, they're just told, happy days, mate, get on with your life. And they give them benefits and send them on their way, It's like, off you go, happy days, and you meet these people sometimes in society, and they seem to have a hard time grasping reality sometimes, and they have their very own unique way of interpreting the world, and there's not much that many people like myself can do for them. Perhaps trained psychiatric help is the only help they can get. I am rather unsympathetic because I don't have the time to deal with it, because I'm not getting a wage to tell people how to think. Some people are being paid out there in society to tell people how they should think, and I'm not one of them. So unfortunately, whereas there are some people that would be very interested to hear your very important information, I haven't got the time to deal with it. That's why I'm doing this video. So if anybody wishes to refer to themselves as a targeted individual, or a super soldier, which is the other half of the mania, which is now you're so special and you're so important that now you've got superhuman powers that you can flick on like a switch, which is just basically you've got multiple personality syndrome, haven't you, which is basically schizophrenia. If you believe that, like, you can suddenly be sitting in a chair and then you're activated by remote control, and then suddenly you are the super soldier with superpowers, and my arms, I could break through walls because I am so powerful. I could punch a person's face in, boom, and their face would go off their heads. And I'm a master of martial arts, and I know this better than anyone else, and I can be turned into a complete killing weapon because I know how to use all weapons and all destructive martial arts and forces, which makes me much more powerful than everybody else. So everybody, you better be careful and don't mess with me, because when I turn on trigger, start fitting, having a fit, I'm going to become so powerful that don't you dare screw with me. Yeah? When you hear this sort of thing, you really know you're dealing with people who are quite far gone. So, I don't have a lot of time for that. There are some people in society who are researchers of this area. I just tend to think that it's a lot of people with a lot of mental problems who've got together in little societies to back each other up, which normally involves attacking each other a lot of the time, because of course it's like Highlander, there can be only one. Okay, I mean, like, these super soldiers do end up, usually attacking each other because they've all got different ideas going on in their heads of what's really going on, and of course that conflicts with somebody else's idea of what's really going on. So they usually do end up almost coming to fisticuffs quite regularly because of I'm the biggest super soldier, well, I'm more important than you, well, I'm more targeted than you, well, I'm suffering more than you, and so that leads to little fights, over who's more important. All I'm saying is, I don't have much time to deal with this. I've given it some time here now so that I can just refer people who ask me about this in the future to this video to say, I think you need some specialist help, and I think that would be best given to you by a professional in the medical field. I wouldn't advise going to speak to people who you think are like yourself, because all you're doing is you're putting yourself in a hall of mirrors and you're just feeding back delusions on top of delusions on top of delusions. And I can pretty much guarantee that there aren't teams of people dedicated to all of these people wandering around 24/7 beaming microwaves at them. I don't think so. So on that note, I wish you happiness with your lives, and I hope you get whatever you need to get sorted out, and I hope you manage to solve your problems, because I do believe you are probably having problems. And yeah, I can understand that it's probably quite hard for you, and I empathize with that, but at the same time, I don't really want it to waste my time on this channel or in this area. I'm interested in people seeing strange lights in the sky, and I'm interested in stories of UFOs, but I'm interested in trying to get to the bottom of these things. And I realize that, like with ghosts, I think there's a part of reality that you'll never get to the bottom of, that doesn't make any sense, that is elusive, and sometimes even playful, and like a cosmic joker is at play. And what I've learned over the years, if anything, is that I don't think we're going to get any answers easily or quickly, or that make much sense anytime soon, because I can't make much sense of some of the experiences I've had. And there we are. If I talk to people about them, I expect them to think I'm crazy. So there we go. And maybe we all are temporarily, sometimes in our lives, a little bit crazy. Maybe we all have a bit of a, So the only real experiences I hold incredibly dear that I've had, and not just the really personal ones where I was on my own and I saw something and it was really real, because how can I prove that? You never can, because you were on your own. The ones I find more interesting are the ones where there were other people present as well, and we all saw the same thing. Then it's a little bit harder to explain. But yes, I do sadly have to doubt all of the experiences I've ever had, because you can never be sure that it wasn't just a brain fart or something. But anyway, I digress. I wish you all the best of luck if you follow my channel and these things are happening to you, but I do suggest that you're probably wasting your time in talking to me about it, because all I will do is try and spend far too much of my time discussing it with a person who probably won't like what they're going to hear. In other words, I'm wasting my time. So I don't want to waste your time in wasting my time, so I will refer you to medical professional or researcher in those areas that I would rather not be involved in. So thanks very much for watching, and I shall catch you hopefully later on the live show with Stephen Fry. Yes, special guest Stephen Fry. You will enjoy that one. So thanks very much for watching.